Hi, this is Ishita Datta, a second year law student currently interning at Lexis and Company. And today I will be covering the concept of privacy in the times of pandemic and if the Arogya Setu app legal. How would you feel if your parents constantly knew where you go, who you see, and what you do? On May 1st, 2020, the Ministry of Home Affairs made it mandatory for local authorities to ensure 100% coverage of other Arogya Setu app among residents of containment zones. You are now required to download an app that makes it compulsory for you to link your name, age, sex, profession, and phone number to your geolocation data. This app then accesses your location information continuously and uses Bluetooth technology to record who you come in contact with and when. All this information is uploaded to a central server that is controlled by Big Brother. And when the government knows more about you than your parents, surely you would ask, is this legal? For a long time, India did not have a coherent privacy law. The Information Technology Act lacked legal and procedural safeguards to preserve the integrity of its citizens' personal information. It is no secret that India lacks a general culture of privacy. So in 2017, during the course of hearing on Aadhaar, when former Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi argued that Indians don't have a fundamental right to privacy, social media had a panic attack. The Supreme Court of India was immediately asked with the duty of deciding this issue. So, in culmination, in the case of Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, much to delight the privacy of advocates, the court emphatically declared the privacy of the individual is an essential aspect of dignity. The ability of the individual to protect a zone of privacy enables the realization of the full value of life and liberty. In what came to be its seminal judgment on privacy, the Supreme Court recognized the distinction between anonymity and privacy. While privacy prevents access to your information, anonymity hides what makes it personal, making our medical records and public knowledge would certainly be a disproportionate invasion of privacy. Analyzing the data of hospital records to collect information in a Public Health Epidemic Act may not. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud states it that thus, if the state preserves the anonymity on the individual, it could legitimately assert a valid state interest in the preservation of public health to design appropriate policy intervention on the basis of the data available to it. Of course, this did not mean that our privacy is protected from all encroachment. The court set three conditions that should be met in order to successfully intrude citizens' privacy. First, there must be a governing law. Second, this governing law must have a legitimate aim. And third, that the law adopted must be proportionate to the objective sought to be achieved. It is in the context that the union government has been deliberating a data protection law for over 2 years. Does data available to the state also mean that the state can go out for its way to capture the data? While India's Disaster Management Act allows the central and the state government to collect data so that it may take measures necessary for the prevention or the mitigation of disasters, in absence of specific legislation, it is legally suspect to suggest that it justifies the constant surveillance of its people. When courts are finally confronted with this question, it is likely that the outcome of challenge will be determined first and then the logic of the decision. Second, be that as it may, does the Arogya Setu app at the very least meet the test of anonymity recognized by the Supreme Court of India? So according to its privacy policy, the information collected on the app is uploaded to a server every 15 minutes. And this information is then used in anonymized aggregated data sets for the purpose of generating reports, heat maps, and other statistical visualization for the purpose of the management of COVID-19 in the country. So in theory, the government's use of data preserves anonymity. What the privacy policy does not explain is why your geolocation needs to be linked to your age, sex, phone number, and profession. Privacy laws across the globe are essentially grounded in consent. Every person is entitled to protect his or her personal information from public encroachment. Having said that, nothing stops us from waiving it in exchange for service. In checking the box under Terms of Service page, we regularly trade our personal information to access social media platforms, play games on the phone, and also buy shoes off the internet. The Arogya Setu app does not arise out such contractual consent. The government's direction was issued under Section 10 of the Disaster Management Act. So the non-compliance attracts a prison term, which is ordinarily 1 year but may extend up to 2 years. It's ultimately a coercive recreation of the social contract. No doubt that those in favor of these apps would argue that if the same information is already available with Google and Facebook, so why not the government of India? More so if the purpose is noble. Paranoia around the app's security concerns remain unaddressed too. So the users of the app do not know what security practices are being followed. Its policy merely says that data is encrypted, which is unconvincing. With information currently available, there is no way to know if the government is complying with even the rudimentary provisions of India's information technology law. French ethical hacker Elliot Alderson has recently demonstrated that breaching the app's security feature is not difficult. He successfully located the data on the app server, tracked movement across India, determined who was infected with COVID-19, and sent his findings to the government of India. Anyone interested can essentially identify who is infected in the area of his choice across the country. Apparently unworried, on May 6, 2020, the government responded to Elliot Alderson with a letter that stated no personal information of any user is proved to be at risk. Where do we stand if there is a data breach and a liability is to be apportioned? In reality, asserting rights in a court of law for the average person is not a daunting task. It often takes a disproportionate amount of time, commitment, and resources. To add to the misery, according to the app's terms and conditions, the user agrees and acknowledges that the government of India will not be liable for any unauthorized and access to your information or modification thereof. It seems that nobody is responsible for the information stored in the app. The only remedy available to the common people is to challenge the legal validity of the terms and conditions or the constitutional validity of the government's directions. Fundamentally, for a constitutional challenge to succeed, there must be a clear violation of the right and a clear demonstration that the encroachment is unreasonable and disproportionate. For example, the first successful challenge based on the right to privacy occurred in the case of Shireen RK versus State of Kerala, where the court held that a university's rule to restrict the use of mobile phone within its hostel from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. violated the students' right to privacy. The Arogya Setu app is far more complicated. It is basically a vehicle for disaster management. Courts will always be reluctant to invalidate the executive action that's geared towards saving the lives of its citizens. Privacy advocates may argue that the ends do not always justify the means. In the end, it will come down whether the courts are more interested in protecting the rights of the people or that of the group.